Hey everyone, I'm Rory Van Fleet. This is my instructor Rob Bernacki. We wanted to do a instructional on YouTube for free for you guys, just going over the fundamentals of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu set. If you've never tried Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, this is a starting place, but I think also we can definitely show you guys some cool details, even on some fundamental techniques like different passes and sweeps, etc., that you guys can get a lot from. But this is Rob Bernacki, and so we obviously have a conceptual approach to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And so the first idea that we want to talk about is the concept of alignment and how that applies to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And obviously, Rob, this is kind of your thing, so...
Yeah. So if you haven't heard of our alignment concept, this is sort of like the secret sauce or the underlying structure that makes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu work. And I shouldn't say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Anything that we do, we're obviously focused on combat sports or self-defense or martial arts. But anything you do physically with your body is going to be based around the idea of maximizing your ability to generate force. And if we're talking about doing something with your body where you've got an opponent, then we've got to maximize your ability to absorb force. I always want to have 100% of whatever my physical potential is available to me in a fight. And I want to be able to resist or absorb my opponent's potential. And then more importantly, as when it comes to actually like controlling or submitting somebody, which is our goal in Jiu-Jitsu, I want to be able to reduce their potential. Because what we're starting with, let's say, if you're at all familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the guard is probably like the signature position of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's really, this is the only martial art where we can win from the bottom. But if Rory is at 100% of his potential physically, and I'm at 100% of my potential physically, unless I'm quite a bit stronger than him, I'm not going to be successful. If I try to just like do an arm bar on him, the most likely thing to happen is I will create an opening and I will get my guard passed. If you're just starting out in Jiu-Jitsu, this is probably the bane of your existence. Like you get taught a triangle choke, you go for a triangle choke and nothing happens, and then the other person passes your guard and you go on YouTube and search side control escapes as though that's going to fix the problem. So alignment is an expression of three things: base, posture, and structure. You will hear these words throughout your jiu-jitsu career. Base is a platform from which to apply and absorb force, specifically maximal force, and it's relative to our opponent and relative to our goals. So in the case of being on my back and being in the guard, my base is my back. That's my contact with the ground that's allowing me to push off, generate force, absorb force. Rory's base is his knees, his feet, his ability to anchor into the ground. So like if I go to generate some force, I'm going to try to move Rory a little bit. So there we go. He's resisting me with his base. His base is now yeah, he's going to use me as base with his arm. Here he's using my chest as a platform to resist the force I'm generating. I'm trying to pull Rory forward with my knees. Rory is blocking me with his hand, and he's getting support from the ground with his shins and his feet. So that's Rory's base. My base right now is unfortunately inferior to Rory's. I've got as much base as I can sort of generate under the circumstance, which is me being on my back, but I don't have the ability to move him because of that. So that's one element of alignment. Structure is another one. Rory is using the efficient positioning of his limbs to block me here. So his left arm is framing against my thigh, his left arm is anchored against my hip, his right arm is anchored against my chest. He has structural frames that are allowing him to, again, absorb force. He's bracing against me in a way that makes it very difficult for me to pull him forward. My structure is somewhat affected. I'm not using my limbs as efficiently. If I were to close my elbows in here, break this grip, now all of a sudden the structure equation has changed. Rory's limb is unconnected to anything. It's become a lever. I can now manipulate him. So I have superior structure to Rory in the moment. This structure break that I've applied, so my limbs are currently being used more efficiently than Rory's. Rory is having to use a lot of muscular force, like try to put your hand back down on my chest. Like he's using a lot of muscle. I'm just using my bones to support the weight. So my structure is better than Rory's. This has also broken Rory's base. Part of his base has been being connected to my chest. Now he's no longer connected to my chest. So now all of a sudden, my base is superior to Rory's. His structure is inferior to mine, and I'm about to take his posture, which is the third element. So posture is
positioning of our spine, is maintaining the integrity of our spinal position. That doesn't mean that your spine has to be straight, but it does mean that your spine should not be overly twisted or bent. So like right now, Rory's got excellent posture. If I reach up and try to pull his head down, not super effective, because again, he's returned his structure and his base is now good. My structure is good, my base is good, but we're still very even. My posture's fine, my spine is not overly twisted. I've not compromised my ability to be like physically affected. Now let's say I use the gi to pull him in a little bit, and now I bend Rory's head. His structure is broken, his posture is broken, his base is broken. I can start to tip him over. Before doing any of these things, if I were to attempt a move, an armbar, a triangle, a sweep, I would be extremely ineffective. It's not the techniques in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that make Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu effective. Unless, of course, you're just dealing with someone who doesn't know the techniques. If I know an armbar and Rory doesn't know an armbar and he just sticks his arm out, I can be effective. But assuming that we both have some knowledge, assuming that we both have some ability to apply the techniques that we've learned, the deciding factor is going to be my awareness of my alignment, my awareness of Rory's alignment, and my ability to maintain my alignment while breaking Rory's. So hopefully that...
Yeah, the way that I've always liked looking at alignment is especially with like weightlifting, where it's like you're going to have a specific alignment that's necessary for the different kind of lifts, and so your alignment will have to change. Like certain things like elbows in close to your body, not internally or externally rotating your shoulders, driving force from the ground, having your spine with integrity, so that's relatively straight. That's always going to be taking place, but there can still be variations of that because the alignment that you need to position yourself for a squat is going to be quite different than what you need to be able to generate maximal force on a bench press.
Exactly.
So it's something that we're going to be talking about consistently throughout this instructional, so you'll get a better idea of how the concept of alignment is represented through the techniques. And we really like this approach, and we found that it's really helped students with learning jiu-jitsu at first and making it feel less complicated. So hopefully you guys enjoy it.